In Google Analytics 4, there's the concept of conversions, and on one hand, they're one of the most important things to have set up, but at the same time, they're also something that are often overlooked because in a lot of the default reports, we never actually have to use them. So first of all, let's explain a bit around what conversions are. And in Google Analytics 4, absolutely everything that it tracks is an event. So we've got all sorts of different types of events that Google can collect. And now conversions are no exception. Conversions are a type of event. So we've got a list of events that we're collecting, and we can mark individually each one of these as a conversion if we would like to. So conversions are events that we've deemed to be slightly more important than other types of events. And in the free version of Google Analytics, we can set up to 30 events that are conversions. In 360, it's slightly more, so you get more space for conversion events. But fundamentally, they are the same. Events are conversions, conversions are events. There's no difference there. And actually, to define conversion events or events as conversions, it's a relatively straightforward process. This is something that you can only do if you're an admin. So what we can do is we go into the admin workspace, and then from there, there's an event section. In that event section, we've got our list of events with some counts and users and some change over time, which is lovely. But on the right-hand column there, we can toggle each individual event as a conversion or not. So what I can do is I can mark, say, this event as a conversion. I flick that switch, and as of right now, all new events that come in for this event are going to be marked as a conversion. And then if I take that off, then as of right now, all events that are coming in won't be classed as a conversion. So the process of setting up conversions is relatively straightforward. We've got a slider basically per event, and we can define that as a conversion or not. But let's talk a bit around why they're useful. So on the one hand, they're very useful. On the other hand, you might never need them. So the first hand, when they're useful, is actually threefold. So the first thing is that they're defined in calculations, so specifically around things like engagement rates. So if someone comes to your website or your app and they convert or they log a conversion event, that's pretty engaged. So I will link off to a video we've done all around explaining what engagement is, but specifically it uses the concept of conversion events in its calculation. Secondly, it's used externally, so it's used in things like Google Ads and the other connected ad platforms. So we can use it for optimization. We can take these conversions, or these conversion events rather, and we can optimize our ad campaigns against them in Google Ads and the other connected ad platforms. And the third one is a reporting thing, and that is a conversion is deemed like the end of a user journey. And so when we're looking at attribution modeling, when we're understanding the user journey and the marketing efforts that have contributed for that conversion, we need a conversion to occur because that's what we attribute. So the whole advertising workspace in GA4 will be pretty empty if you don't have any conversions defined. So you have to have the conversions defined to look at that more advanced kind of marketing analytics reports in the advertising workspace. So yeah, threefold. It's used in calculations like engagement rates, it's used externally in things like Google Ads for optimization, and it's also used to flood the kind of attribution workspace, which is the advertising workspace. But all of that being said, now let's look at why you might not have come across it before or need to use it. And if I go into, for example, the reports workspace in any detail report, when I scroll down and I have a look at my data table, quite often, and yes, this can be customized, but quite often, the last three columns there, the last three metrics are events, conversions, and revenue. And now revenue might not be used, so that's a bit of a red herring, but those first two columns, events and conversions, are really important. But the thing I have with this is that there's a drop down at the top of each of those columns, and I can switch out the total events or total conversions for individual events or individual conversions. But seeing as conversions are events, they're doing exactly the same thing. The conversions column is just a subset of my events column. If I use the same event, so if I look at this conversion of purchase, for example, and I go into my events column and I look at exactly the same things, the numbers are identical. And so for me, I don't need to use that conversions column because the events column does the same job. In actual fact, it does a better job because it's got all of the non-conversion events there as well. So for me, that's why it's often overlooked and something you don't necessarily need to utilize. You don't need to define conversion events if you're just sticking to the reports workspace reports. So that's it really. In a nutshell, that's what conversions are. They are very useful, especially when you're looking at the advanced reports, the advertising workspace and attribution modeling, optimizing your media campaigns in the connected tools like Google Ads, or even just defining and helping to define and influence calculations like the engagement rates. But at the same time, when it comes to the default reports, the detailed reports within the reports workspace, you probably don't need to use them at all. Anyway, I hope that's interesting, or at least my perspective of how they're useful and also not very useful. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.